Hello and welcome to another episode of Attention Span Labs. I'm your host, Michael DiBaggio, and it is still July 4th. As I said in the last video, it's very hot up here on the third floor, so if you hear any buzzing in the background, it's the air conditioner. Sorry, it's the only way I can make this video up here. So speaking of hot, this video is about desert and arid terrain buildings from a variety of different settings, mostly the same scale, anywhere from 25 millimeter to 32 millimeter. Some of these buildings are buildings that I made from scratch. Some of them are 3D printed. Some of them I bought. Some of them are 3D prints that I bought from other people that were already painted. But we'll go through just a quick look at them. Desert buildings are, and by say desert, I don't just mean, deep desert. It could be, arid Mediterranean style climates, Caribbean style buildings. A lot of these you'll find are reusable, and they could be in Mexico, in the American Southwest, Star Wars, Tatooine style buildings, and they're North Africa, Saudi Arabia during like Lawrence's revolt, and World War II in North Africa, in Greece, in Italy, a lot of the old-fashioned buildings are basically been the same for a couple thousand years, basically from the time of Christ even until after the 1960s, 1970s. So there's a lot of flexibility in these buildings, and I like the color palette, but also it was something that up until maybe 3-4 months ago, the only kind of terrain I had was either temperate woodlands terrain, kind of the kind of stuff that area I live in, with the pine trees and the deciduous trees and grasslands and swamps and marshes and stuff like that, and then deep jungle with the palm trees and bamboo and so forth. Well, I wanted to get into another new variety of terrain, decided to go with desert. I did show you some of my desert terrain in previous videos, but now I'm going to show you mainly buildings. So let's start with the buildings that I scratch built. Be right back in a second. Okay, this building is just made out of styrofoam packing and some chipboard, some plastic card pieces, some wood chips, and some greebles. But again, long-time followers of the channel will have seen this in previous versions when I had a more sci-fi Warhammer type theme to it. But I did change it a bit. I used, this is 2 boxes, 2 different styrofoam packing material mounted on, you can see it right there, mounted on chipboard base to hold it together. Chipboard courtyard. This house extension is built with chipboard and cardboard as well. The walls are made out of cork. Everything was covered over in spackle, and it was kind of messy, so then I hit it with texture paint, and that smoothed a lot of it out. Because covering spackle adds a lot of strength to it, and it looks right, it looks good. But when you start getting into like crevices and holes, it's hard to get a smooth application over the whole thing. At least it is for me. I'm not by no means expert about it. I tried it many times. But then fill in a lot of it looked pretty lumpy. But then I hit it with a very nice texture spray paint. I think it was Rust-Oleum. It doesn't really matter, but you can find texture spray paint at Home Depot, at Lowe's, and so forth. I did that once I hollowed out the areas. Put the doors 3D printed, doors and windows, or they are from their MDF pieces from a Shifting Lands Kickstarter that I backed. So these are just strips of cork to make the kind of the patio wall, low wall. I decided to use, I had these plasticard, nice texture mudbrick kind of plaza tiles, and then I also used those pantile plasticard for the roof. I did originally use corrugated cardboard, and you can do that. This looked even better. I don't know, I just really like the look of it. This is supposed to be not based on a particular building I like to build. See, this is somewhat technological. It has a storage tank with some fuel, maybe a generator there. This was supposed to be used mainly in my my Weird War World War II campaign. This is sort of like a fortified frontier house. You can tell because it's made for a hot environment, an arid environment. You can tell by the paint job, and sort of it says open breezeways and windows all connect and everything, and not worry too much about rain, or maybe this would be covered. But it's for sort of semi-luxury living in an area that is still dangerous. There's very few entrances. The windows are high up. The windows are few in number. There's one, the main entrance there. This would be where like a colonial administrator or a plantation farmer or something like that would live when he's out in the bush and he's worried about being attacked by horrid lizard men or Mahars or American invaders from Atbatabar or something like that. All right. Pretty simple. Took a bit of doing until I got the techniques down right, but I do like it. Lots of space for troops up here, machine guns, mortars, whatever you want. And it's big enough to be used for like 32mm scale as well. Speaking of 32mm scale, there's another one that longtime fans of the channel will recognize. This is an old-fashioned second edition Rogue Trader era kind of orc, more second edition I guess, orc building. This is actually made out of 2 gift boxes from Dollar Tree put together. You can see how I did that there. Cut aside one, sort of made an extension, and covered most of the one that protrudes with popsicle sticks and corrugated board pieces. It's a 3D printed orc cliff. But they're scratched up and then stained with wash. Give it sort of the worn out, sun-baked look. Added some, rust paint and everything. This door is scratch built. It's made out of foam, foam board foam with some pieces. It actually does open. I don't think I painted the other side, so I'm not going to open it, but it does turn on a little hinge here. Again, this is another one that I covered in spackle, and it was mostly good except around where I had put the wood extensions in for the roof, the wood planks. And they're on both sides. And it didn't look great until I hit it again with texture paint, and that covered up a lot of errors, made it look much more smooth, but still leaves that kind of craggy, chipped appearance of weather-worn, weather-beaten. And these were just this brick pattern, stone pattern was just carved in to the stone, to the foam. Same with the door. Just washed. It was sealed first with glue, then painted, spray painted, then washed and dry brushed. For the sides here, I glued these little strips of foam in place over there, and then built the spackle up around it and left them as exposed pieces of mud brick that were not covered by the stucco. And you can see that especially in the back, and I also used the MDF, these MDF windows here. But I think that the exposed brick pattern adds a lot to it in spots. And then this checkerboard pattern, I had little square pieces of wood. Actually, I used the same kind of wood pieces that I used for up here, and I just put them there, drew them with a pencil, and kept connecting the lines, and then painted them in black and yellow all around, and that adds so much to it. I really like this thing. It looks like a perfect orc building, or like a post-apocalyptic thing. It would be good for Orca Morca or what's this stuff. I mean, I guess it would have to be orc with that. It's very orky symbol, but the top, you can see I have this that water tower. That's a steampunk water tower with base that I downloaded off Thingiverse with the pipes. It was 3D printed. And it's just, it needed something on top. And I think the orcs or whoever can also pump hot water and then dump it down the side at anybody assaulting them. All right, so this is the orc building. Hope you like it. I showed this one off quite a while ago, but now it's done. Let me know what you think of it. All right, now on to some 3D printed buildings that I printed and painted myself. Okay, here's a quick survey of some They're really Legion scale, but they work great. I think they're a little small for Legion. They work great for the 25mm Star Wars miniatures from West End Games that I use primarily game. And these are Star Wars buildings, but you know, they're not that different from, aside from like the computer terminals and stuff on, you know, from a lot of traditional mud brick or, you know, Star Wars case, I guess they're fusion packed earth. But these were all from the same set on Thingiverse. I forget I'll try and look. I'll look it up and try and put the link there so you can get them. But these are all printed at my FDM printer, printed at sort of moderate resolution, and they came out pretty well. This paint job was sort of inspired by one of the Orthodox churches, not the one I go to, but the other one 2 blocks away. With the sort of ivory off-white and blue and gold dome. It's sort of standard hobble. And these are FDM printed. They're too big for my resin printer. This is a tower. It's not fully painted, it's mostly painted. I'm going to leave it this kind of rust color. You can see where that printer jumped around a bit on this one. And I had to fill it in. It doesn't look too bad. It looks pretty good actually. I had to fill it in with some putty, sanded smooth. And the roof does come off. And here's a 25mm Star Grunt New Angling Confederation Power Armor Trooper, which I use these in, as you know, for my Star Wars, my last Star Wars video, Star Wars miniatures, in addition to the West End Games ones. And it's a very good scale match, I think, especially with the bases. Looks right for the doors here. Yeah, there's a little grate there. He's building is like a garage, land speeder garage. You know, not much to say about these. This one went really bad with the door. That's why I don't have that painted. I'm going to 3D print on the resin printer that same door basically, and glue it over there. That's why that one's not finished. But these were very simple. These were they were base coated and then given putty where necessary to fill in the gaps. Then I used apple barrel or plaid paint, you know, the cheap paint from Walmart, from Michael's, the antique white for most of these. This one was, I think, a beige color. Then weathered it. I used a Vallejo rust color for the doors. Yeah, for the garage door here. For some of the pipes, different things. I tried to keep a sort of very similar color scheme. It was a very large structure. This one took about a day and a half to print. And it actually bumped a couple times so that it printed here and then went over and then went over and then went over some more. So I had to saw apart the 3 parts and then sand them off and glue them back together. You can see some of the seams there, but I think it adds to the character of it. The weathering was accomplished with some washes, stippling on some darker paint, a very limited targeted wash, especially around like the door frame and stuff like that. Some metal, oxidized metal parts. And then I used some pastels to give the rough texture for both. I used sand, some weathering powder, sand, rust, and then you seal that on. That's actual physical. It's like chalk, and so it's a layer there, and then you spray a clear coat over it, and it seals it in. So these are very cool. I will post the link to these down below. These were all available for free on Thingiverse. They're excellent terrain pieces for this 25mm Star Wars miniature battles. They are supposedly scaled for Legion. I have Legion. I don't really play it, but it would work for them. But definitely, I think they're a bit more impressive sized for the Star Wars 25mm West End Games ones. Let's take a look down here. These are also 3D printed pieces. These are also from Thingiverse, and they're like the striated rock piles. You see the desert. I painted this one. This one's not fully finished painted, but when you print these on your FDM, I would actually go down to like a low resolution, like a 0.2 or something, because it adds a bit of ruggedness to it. You don't want it too smooth. You know, you can cover stuff up on the top that has gaps or with putty or whatever, but this was painted dark and built up light with a kind of reddish color, something like you see in parts of the American Southwest, or would be good for Mars. And this one's an even larger one. This one took about a day to print. Very large piece. All right, now on to some excellent ones that I got. They're also 3D printed, but I bought these. I bought these down at Historicon. They were a very reasonable price. I got them in the, I'm sorry, not at Historicon, at Cold Wars back in March. Historicon's coming up. And these were in the flea market. I bought several of these, but I bought more than these desert style buildings, but these are great, and they're, you know, convertible, but painted on the inside. You know, I paid like, I don't know, anywhere from like 30 to 50 bucks for these buildings, but could I print them myself? Absolutely. But anytime you print them yourself, you know, you're waiting day to print them, and then I have so many printed buildings that are sitting there unpainted, unfinished, right? So I thought it was a steal actually to get these very cool buildings. They're suitable for 25, for 28, not so much for 30 for Warhammer scale, but I love them. They look excellent. They're very good paint job. Actually, a lot of details used for, and you know, because I bought a bunch of them, I got a good deal on them. But I recommend if you go down to the any of the HMGS cons, go to the flea market there and check it out. Check out their vendors too, for sure. But that's one building. I'll pause the video here and get some of the rest. Okay, here are some more of the buildings I got at Cold Wars. You know, sort of Afghan style, or you know, Middle Eastern, Arab style domed building. But okay paint job, not as nice as the other one, but definitely usable. This could even be usable in Star Wars, you know. This building, awesome, just awesome. There's so many peat, it's so, you can't even see it here. Let me raise this up so you can see the top of the dome. There you go. Yeah. So this has multiple floors, same, they're all painted on the inside. Has like the walkway. Porch. Arched windows. Oh, hey. Look at that. American sniper team. Better take them out and put them away. Forgot they were in there from the last game we played. Yeah, so plenty of room to fit soldiers in. Easy to access it. You know, this is even a separate piece. The roof comes off here. Place troops in. Very sort of Indiana Jones and Last Crusade look to it. Yeah, I really like these buildings. Definitely a good buy. You know, the doors open and close. You know, to me, it was worth it to get something, a printed model, and especially terrain. You can always get more miniatures. You always have too many miniatures. But what you really need a lot of variety in is terrain. So that's one more. This was one actually I 3D printed and painted myself. This was on Thingiverse too, and I'll find a link for it below. This is like a trading post. This was, I believe, actually, according to the guy who made it, actually based on the Jungle Safari boat at Disney World, like the souvenir stand there. But it works pretty good. It got the pantile roof. There's no floors or anything on the inside, but it was a pretty easy paint job. Just hit it with some yellows and beiges, weathered it up, did the rust for the pantile roof, give it a splashy color with the red windows. So yeah. And one more thing to show you is some ready built desert items from Gale Force 9 in a second. And these Anubis style sphinxes, half buried in sand. They come painted. They're from Gale Force 9. They're for the most of their stuff obviously, because they're the same as like Battlefront games. They make Flames of War and Team Yankee. A lot of their stuff is for 15mm, but they do also make sets of 28, 25, 28mm and larger scale terrain. Especially for like, you know, Kings of War, Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, Warhammer 40k, whatever. You can see them next to some bolt action guys. These are nice, as I said. They're heavy. They're not sure what they're made out of. They're resin probably, and they're already painted. They look good. They got very nice detail on them. You know, some of the one Sphinx comes already ruined. Napoleon's men shot its ears off, supposedly, like they did to the nose on the Sphinx. I don't think that's true, but hey, you know, these might. Speaking of that, these may be good for a silver bayonet game as well. Really, anything with some weird desert pulp adventure, exploring Egyptian ruins and so forth. I got these down at Historicon last year, which, as I said, is coming up again. I highly recommend you go down. But Gale Force 9 Battlefront games always have big booths there. So lots to check out there. Several hundred tables with games all loaded out. So I really recommend you go there. That is coming up on, I think it starts on July 19th down in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and it starts on a Wednesday and runs through Sunday. All right, so I think that's about all I have to show you today. It's my my desert terrain structures, printed and bought and otherwise. So hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Let me know any questions you have about painting, 3D printing, scaling things, you know, whatever you want. If you have any advice you want to offer me, I'd be happy to hear from it. We're all growing in our hobby experience. So yeah, if you like it, give me a like, subscribe if you're not subscribed, tell your friends about it, and hopefully see you in the next video. Attention Span Labs signing off.